I just found out my fiancé and his entire family are living a lie. I at 26F thought I had it all figured out. Mark, my fiancé, is everything I ever dreamed of. Kind, handsome, driven, and with a family that seemed ripped straight from a Hallmark movie. His parents, David and Susan, were warm, welcoming, and always had a funny story to tell. We've been together for 3 blissful years, and our wedding is set for next spring. I genuinely love them all and felt like I had truly found my forever home with them. But lately, little things started to feel off. Nothing concrete, just a feeling. Whenever I'd ask about Mark's childhood, he'd be vague. Oh, typical kid stuff, or that's a long story. He didn't have many childhood photos, which I always found a bit odd for such a seemingly close-knit family. His parents would deflect if I asked about their hometown or old friends, chuckling it off as too boring or ancient history. I brushed it off, thinking maybe they were just private, or perhaps their past wasn't as exciting as mine. The real unease started about a month ago. We were at David and Susan's house, looking through some old boxes for wedding decorations. I found a small, tarnished silver locket tucked away at the bottom of a box full of old trinkets. It wasn't fancy, just a plain oval. When I opened it, there were 2 faded photos. One was unmistakably Mark as a young boy, maybe 7 or 8, but the other picture was of a different woman and man entirely. They looked nothing like David and Susan. They had darker hair, different facial structures. I thought it might be distant relatives, perhaps. I showed it to Mark, expecting a simple explanation. His face went white. He snatched the locket from my hand, his usual calm demeanor completely gone. Where did you find this? He asked, his voice tight. It's nothing, just old junk, we should get rid of it. He threw it back in the box and quickly changed the subject, laughing a little too loudly about a dusty old vase. My stomach clenched. It was such an overreaction, so out of character for him. That night, I couldn't sleep. The image of the locket and Mark's reaction replayed in my mind. The next day, I started doing some casual digging. I looked up David and Susan Miller, their last name and their supposed hometown. Nothing. No records of them owning property there, no old articles, no social media presence before about 15 years ago. It was like they sprang into existence out of thin air. This was incredibly strange for people in their late 50s. My heart pounded as I delved deeper. I remembered Mark once mentioning a very specific, slightly unusual name for an elementary school he attended in a different state. It took some doing, but I managed to find an old yearbook photo online. There he was, a little boy, unmistakable. But the name under his photo wasn't Mark Miller. It was Ethan Hayes. My blood ran cold. Ethan Hayes, not Mark Miller. When Mark came home that evening, I was shaking. I held up a printout of the yearbook photo. Who is Ethan Hayes? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. He looked at the photo, then at me. His shoulders slumped, and he just started to cry. It was a guttural, broken sob that instantly told me my worst fears were just scratching the surface. He confessed everything over the next few hours. David and Susan aren't his biological parents. They adopted him when he was 7. Their names aren't David and Susan Miller, they're aliases. The entire family is living under assumed identities. Why? Because David and Susan, or whatever their real names are, committed a massive financial fraud years ago, devastating countless families, including, horrifyingly, Mark's biological parents, the Hayes. They were so utterly ruined by the scam that they lost everything. Mark's biological parents, my fiancé's real parents, were the victims of the people who then adopted him and raised him as their own, forcing him to take a new name and forget his past. Mark only learned the full, horrific truth a few years ago when he found some old court documents, but by then, David and Susan were the only parents he knew. He couldn't bring himself to tell me, hoping it would all stay buried. I'm numb. My fiancé, the man I was going to marry, is a part of this lie, a product of a crime that ruined his own family. He's been living a false life, and so have I by extension. The people I thought were his loving parents are criminals who stole his childhood from him, even if they later gave him a new one. I don't know who Mark really is.